Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Audacity Magazine's video podcast. Today we have Jacob and Taniya, two people with OI. And hopefully on the day that you see this, it will be May 6th, Wishbone Day, for all of us with Osteogenesis Imperfecta. It's a day to bring awareness. I like to add that it should be a day of acceptance as well. So welcome to both of you. I wanted to start off with each one of you telling us a little bit about yourselves, like maybe where you are, where you're living, or your age. And maybe if you want to talk to us about your OI, then feel free. We're going to go with Miss Taniya first because ladies first. Welcome.
Well, my name is Taniya. I'm from New York. I live here on Long Island. I'm 38 years old. I was diagnosed with OI. It wasn't until I was about 5. Since then, I've been in and out of the hospital, various surgery. I've broken about 100 bones. But as of right now, I live independently on my own. And I haven't let OI, although it was a hindrance maybe in my childhood years, as I got older, I kind of got past a lot of that and moved into a more, I wouldn't say positive space because I was never in a negative space, but a more space where I believed in myself and not just having others believe in me or not needing others to believe in me in order to validate the things that I could and couldn't do.
Welcome. And I gotta let you know, I'm from Long Island also.
Are you?
Yes. So I was born and raised in Long Island. I lived in Queens and other parts, but I'm from, Stony Brook.
I live in Miller Place.
There you go. We're right there.
We're neighbors.
And I learned how to swim at Stony Brook University. So it's that place. And now we have Mr. Jacob. Jacob, welcome.
Hi, how you doing?
Great.
So you're wanting to know just things. Okay, general things. Here we go. I will turn 25 years old this year. I am a recent graduate with my bachelor's degree from Western Kentucky University. I have osteogenesis type 3. I've broken numerous bones, numerous surgeries. I also get to live on my own, which is nice. I'm very thankful that I get to do that. I don't know what else. I just kind of started talking.
That's good. Let's just have some fun. How many bones have you broken, Taniya?
Just over 100. I think I stopped counting at like 103.
There you go. And what about you, Jacob?
Nobody in my life ever bothered to count, so no clue. I would say it's definitely in the hundreds, not in the thousands, but it's in there.
Well, if I don't count my ribs, then I would say it's over 200. But after a while, my family also stopped counting, were we going to get a prize or anything. But it's just interesting for people to know that they're like 120. Oh my gosh. Everybody freaks out about, our OI and, what we have. So, Taniya, do you have a manual wheelchair or electric wheelchair? Do you walk?
Actually, I walk now. That took a really long time. I did use a manual wheelchair until I was well into my 20s. I actually competitively wheelchair raced. That was pretty fun. My shoulder's paying for it now, but...
That's awesome. That's really good. And what about you, Jacob? What do you use?
I use a motorized wheelchair. I have for probably more than 10 years now. I used a manual push wheelchair until I was in middle school. And, I enjoyed that, but the electric chair affords me a bit more freedom than I would otherwise. Being able to reach things, going places isn't quite so exhausting, which is nice. I can't walk. I tend to think walking is overrated, but no, but that's great.
I used to walk, but with crutches, but then it got too painful, and I kept fracturing, so the wheelchair became a lot easier to handle and everything. Taniya, I saw on your Facebook picture, and I think that you're an adventurous person. Do you do a lot of scary, adventurous, something that OI people would be like, oh my God, what are you doing? Do you do that? Was I wrong? I don't know. I saw something and it was like, my God, this girl's a little on the adventurous side. Am I wrong? Tell me about it.
Who were you talking to?
That it was a picture, and I think you're walking somewhere. Like, I don't know, on the beach. What is that? Did I say that? I'm pretty sure I saw the photo. I was like, okay, it's on your
Are you
Facebook.
talking to me?
I'm sorry.
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Oh, I thought we were talking
my
to
gosh. Yes.
I think you're talking about, yeah, I'm kind of crazy like that, which made my parents insane. I do a lot of things that would be considered dangerous, I guess. I actually started surfing last summer. I started taking surfing lessons. I'm not very good, but I plan on going back again this summer. The water is actually a really safe place to be, or safer place to be, while still strengthening your muscles. I had a lot of problems with my core. While I do walk, I don't do very well when it comes to core muscles. You know, my legs are decent, but as far as being able to stand up straight or stand up for extended periods of time, that gets hard. So the surfboard and my balance is not good at all. So being out there in the water and surfing, I have an instructor who's always there to catch me because I fall constantly. But falling in water is a lot different than falling on the ground. And I like to try new things, and some of them are crazy. But my mom taught me growing up, you're going to break something anyway. So it was kind of like, just go for it and I'll get a cast later.
Do you allow, it looks to me like you don't allow fear to enter in your mind or even your vocabulary. You say you're going to do something and then you just go for it?
Yeah. I'll try pretty much anything once unless it's something that I know is extremely dangerous. Like I wanted to skydive, but my orthopedist said the power of the what the heck's that shit thing called? I want to say jetpack. Parachute.
Parachute.
The force of the parachute, when it opens, he said it would probably break a couple of ribs, so it wouldn't even be a comfortable landing. And I was like, yeah,
I think I asked that question once, so I'm there with you. I think I asked that one too.
Oh, you were going to skydive?
I did indoor skydiving.
Do you?
Did you do it, Jacob?
No, I did not.
There's a company called iFly. Have you heard of it?
No.
They have one in New York area. So look it up. It's called iFly, indoor skydiving. And I did it 2 summers ago. And it was fun. I mean, I don't recommend all OI people do it. I just feel that I was strong enough to do it. But if you're the kind of person that breaks super easily, don't do it. But I think, Taniya, that you could do it. I think you could do it. Because you do all these other things, so you can handle it. I will tell you that I have OI3, I guess. I don't know what it's called. But when I did the indoor, I was in pain for a couple of days, almost like a really good workout, because the winds are beating you up in order to keep you afloat. But Jacob, I mean, if you want to go for it, do it.
I would try it.
I've gotten old and grumpy since I asked about skydiving. I'm good. I've gotten too old and grumpy. I'm perfectly happy not doing it.
So what do you guys do on a typical day? What is your typical day like, Taniya? What is your typical day?
Typical day was, well, I recently lost my job. But before that only happened a couple of weeks ago. But before that, I would get up in the morning, obviously get ready, go to work, come home, make dinner was normally the first thing I would have to do when I got home because I was starving. I have a little dog that I have to take care of, so I would take her out and then kind of just sit back and do some relaxing things after dinner, like watch television, I write, I journal a lot. And most recently, I've gotten into some speaking, which I'm very, very passionate about, speaking to schools. And I actually have a presentation coming up this Monday. So I'll be doing that Monday morning. And then actually next week, this actually upcoming week, I'm having surgery.
On what? I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I have a shunt in my head because I had a brain bleed many years ago, back in 2003. So what's that? 16 years ago, and it left me with some major complications. I had seizures for a long time, and they did surgery, neurosurgery, to correct the seizures, and then that left some residual buildup of fluid that my doctor had to perform an emergency surgery to get that corrected. So luckily we got that corrected. I had this shunt in for about 5 years. Luckily now they say I don't need it anymore, and I'm so thankful. I can't wait to get it out. So they're pulling that bad boy out on Thursday. And
Wow.
I can't wait.
Good luck to that.
Thanks.
That's scary. How does the seizures impact with your OI?
It was dangerous. For the most of my seizures, I did not have full body grand mal seizures. I had what they call complex partial seizures, where it affects one specific autism. So I did a lot of lip smacking or picking at my clothes like this, repetitive things like that. There was a few times where I did have a grand mal seizure. One I distinctly remember. I was sitting there and I could consciously know that I was having a seizure and that I should stop, because I automatically started just banging my head up against the wall. And I couldn't stop it, but consciously I was in my body enough to know, you're going to break your skull. Luckily, nothing did happen. I think I had a seizure once where I was sleeping and broke a rib, because I woke up with pain in my side. I woke up because my ribs started hurting, and I noticed that my nightstand, all the stuff that was on the night table, had been knocked on the floor. So I assume, my doctor said it's pretty safe to assume, that I probably had a seizure in my sleep and probably hit the table.
Wow. That's dangerous. I mean, that's like an extra layer of issues on top of the OI one.
Yeah.
And you're still adventurous. So that's fantastic.
Well, I've been seizure-free since 2014. So he did that surgery. I take medication every day. And so because I had hundreds, I couldn't go a day without having multiple seizures. So now it's much more comforting to know that I'm not having them anymore. Not that the possibility's not still there, but that they're not frequent. And I haven't had one in 5 years, which is helpful. It's very helpful.
Yeah, I can imagine that. We're going to know more about that. So, Jacob, tell us about your regular day. What's your day like?
I don't know if I necessarily have a regular day in the sense of, I kind of do what is, expected of me on that day, what needs to be done. Usually, of course, you get out of bed, you go to the bathroom, you do whatever you need to do. Nothing's really different because I am in a wheelchair. That's just an obstacle to get it done. So, that's just another thing, yes, it's another thing I need to think about occasionally, but not in a way that doesn't stop me from getting the task completed. I graduated several years ago. I don't currently have a job, but I continue to work on it, so that's part of the reason I don't have a regular day. But, that's mostly my regular day. I'm also barreling down the possibility of surgery that I learned a couple of days ago, where last November I broke my leg, and it's looking like there's a good chance it may not heal all the way, and they'll have to go in and do a bone graft. And then while we're in there doing a bone graft, we could lengthen the rod in my leg, which that's major surgery then. That's 6 months in a cast. So it's something that I'm keeping an eye on. That's a very good chance it's in my future.
Let me ask both of you a question. And how much of your OI filters into the decisions that you have to make in life, whether they're big decisions, everyday decisions? How often do you feel that the OI impacts you in your life? Taniya, you first.
I would say never, unless it's something that I feel that I need a doctor's approval for, something like skydiving, something that I know physically might be dangerous. The only thing I'm thinking is I'm 38 now, and I'm single. But I do think long term, like what if I want to have children? That's one big thing where I think my OI does play a huge role in whatever decision I make there. Kids have always been on my radar, something that I always wanted, whether I had them myself or adopted them. So that's the one thing that I think, but like I said, that's long term. That's nothing that's happening right now.
And what about you, Jacob?
Not really. It doesn't really factor into my everyday decision making. At least not purposefully. I'm sure these things are always with you, but it's not a thing where I think, I'm sitting around deciding what I want to do and think, oh yeah, I can't do that. That's right. That doesn't really. That's not really the way my thought process at least works. But yeah, in fairness, I am fairly lucky and fortunate. I'm able to drive myself. So if I want to go do something, I just hop in the car and go do it. It's not a thing where I am, having to, barter for a ride somewhere.
I think it's interesting. I'm listening to both of you, and there's a common thread. You're my fifth people who with OI that I've spoken to today. And it seems that we all have this tendency of, I can do this, and I can do that, even when other people are telling us, no, you can't. We seem to say, watch me, so it's almost a watch me effect, it's like, oh, tell an OI person they can't fly, and then we're all going to sit there and stick feathers on ourselves, and say, watch me, right? Do you feel that sometimes you get more motivated and energized every time someone tells you you can't do something? What do you think?
Definitely. I almost love hearing that because it pushes me harder to then do it. And take the surfing, for instance. I started calling around to find places that might be willing to give me an instructor because I know I was talking about it with some friends and they said things like, oh, you might be a liability and whatever. So I started calling and I was upfront. I was like, listen, I have this disease. It's called osteo, and I told them a little bit about it. And I said, and because of that, I'm not even 4 feet tall. And I got so many people that said, so many actual people from these different places that said to me, well, we can put you on a board and see what happens, but I really don't think it's something that would be for you or that you'd be able to. And I was like, okay, hung up the phone and called the next place. And then in my mind that solidified it, whether I'm going to become a superstar at it or not. So a bunch of people told me they didn't think I could. That was all I needed to hear. And I think that factors into almost everything that I do, regardless of whether I'm conscious of it or not.
I'm with you. I'm glad that you do that too, by the way, because I think that whenever you're out there doing something, I feel that you're a ripple effect. So you are impacting the people. Every time someone sees you do something that they thought you couldn't do, you've just changed their perception. It's amazing the power that we have just by saying, okay, just watch me. I'm about to, do something that you just said I can't. So I love that. And I love how you say that, okay, I'm just going to, do it. Whatever it is, watch. That's what's going to happen. That's a good thing to have. I'm liking this. What about you, Jacob? What do you do anything? People say, Jacob, nah. You're like, okay, watch me.
I tend not to have a lot of people in my life who tell me I can't do things. Usually they're telling me to do more things. Usually, they're encouraging me, to, pushing me to do more. You should, go do this. You should go do that. Stop doing that and go do this. This is better. That kind of thing. If there's anybody telling me I can't do something, it's usually me. So, for example, when I was in college, I had a friend come to me and say, hey, let's just go hop in the car and go somewhere. And I had to be like, I can't, the wheelchair, it's usually me saying I can't do something, not someone else, which is kind of interesting. But usually the people in my life are pushing me to do more or to do something different, not keeping me down.
Jacob, what got you to do a podcast, by the way? Tell us about your podcast, because I know that others need to hear about this.
So several years ago, I started a podcast called Ability, and it's just where I talk to people with different disabilities to hear their stories and hear what their life is like. Similar, a bit similarly to this, I have a little more structure in my show. I have several, questions, already out. But then, if the question takes us somewhere else, I'm fine with that. But the structure allows, me to hit similar points with every single person, so that way you get more rounded information. At least that's the idea. If it works or not, who knows? But basically, I started the podcast mainly because I love podcasting. I love podcasts in general. I listen to them all the time. And I wanted to do a podcast. And I'd been exploring how I was going to do a podcast. And I'd been, thinking of lots of ideas, and for example, I love technology. I love this stuff. I've got this big honking microphone, just as an example. I love technology, and so I thought, well, I should do a technology podcast. That'd be cool, right? Find somebody and we talk about technology. The thing is, the internet doesn't need another white guy to talk about technology. We have lots of those, and they do it way better than I could ever do it. So what can I bring to it that they can't, basically? And that was what I had come up with, this idea that I'd talk to people with disabilities. And I'd been sitting on that idea for a year or so, and I just, for whatever reason, brought it up to my friend. And he's like, well, just go do it. How can I help? Let's just go do it, tomorrow. And that was how it got started, basically. It's, that's a great example about how, if anybody's keeping me down, it's usually me, not someone else.
Well, you have a radio voice. I think so. I think you've got that radio voice thing going on. And I definitely think that you need to have Taniya on your show, too. Because...
I think of it the other way, though. I have a face for radio, not a voice for radio. So, the better I can hide this, behind over here.
There you go. You can always do that, But Taniya is definitely someone interesting for your podcast, And I've been on his podcast. I've been a guest. So he'll ask you interesting questions and probably things I haven't even thought of, which is good for you as well. Taniya, let me ask you a question. You said that, after your operation and everything, and after you... do you live alone? I didn't catch that part. I wanted to get to that part.
Yes, I do live alone.
Okay, I thought
Unless you count my dog.
How, when you go back, are you thinking about doing something? I feel like the OI community, a lot of us can do things online and to make a living, or what is it that you want to make, what do you want to make for your living? You get what I'm trying to say? Or what is it you want to do?
I want to continue speaking. I want to get paid for it now, but I want to continue speaking. That's my ultimate goal. That's always been the ultimate, the place that I want to get to, but baby steps.
And then what will you be speaking about? What's your niche?
Well, I speak to, it depends on the group that I'm speaking to, but what I do is I speak mainly about my passion, which is adversity. Overcoming adversity and not giving up on yourself. Because the world around you might turn around and quit on you. You only need one cheerleader, and that's got to be you. Especially if other people are turning their back and saying the CANT word. And I also speak to younger children, in which I talk about disability awareness, but when they're super young, it's more inclusion. Don't leave your friend in the wheelchair out there on the side during recess. Maybe he can't get where the sand is, but why don't you guys bring a ball over there? That sort of thing. I started that at my niece's school because she told me that there was a little girl on crutches that couldn't play gym. So this little girl, she told me about this little girl that sat on, just on the side and couldn't play gym. And my niece, Gianna, asked the teacher if she could go sit over there and play, if there was something that they could play together while the other kids played dodgeball. So they did. They played some version of with that old game with the Velcro and then the Velcro ball, the little catch game where you stuck the thing in your hand and then you threw the ball and it stuck to
the Velcro,
it was almost like a baseball. It was kind of like this catch game. Oh, I think it was called Sketch.
I don't know it. Do you know it, Jacob?
He's probably way too young.
No idea. No, too young. No, I don't. Well, see, it may be that. It's also that I'm not very outdoorsy and I'm not into the sports ball. So, sorry, continue.
No, it's okay. It was like a version of catch, but instead of having to actually catch the ball, he had a mitt that had Velcro on it. So he had to do is move the mitt in the right spot, and the ball would stick to it.
Okay. And so...
I can confirm, I think it is called Sketch.
Oh, he's looking it up.
Now, let me ask you a question. Are you going to be putting up a website soon, Taniya, so that people can, you can share your story with them?
I have a website up. I need to decide if I'm going to do on there, if I'm going to actually blog or video blog. I'm not 100% sure yet. But I do have the website up and constructed.
Can the people go to it now?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's TaniyaFaulk.com. So that's my first name and my last name.
Okay, well, we're going to put it at the end of the video. I'll have both of your links so that people can see it. The other thing that I'm also interested in, I want to talk about hashtag inspiration point. Yeah, that's why I took myself out of the video. Like, I'm still here, but it's not the people won't be able to see me right now because I love seeing your face and Jacob's. When I said that, it was like, uh-oh. So let us talk about inspiration point. Hashtag inspiration point. And I know that it's a very divided term because some people are okay with what we put out as inspiring and some people are not okay. So let me ask you a question. I'm going to give you guys a scenario and you tell me whether it is inspiration porn or it's not inspiration porn. Are we ready? Okay, let's play the game here. All right. So, a guy asks a girl in a wheelchair to the prom. Is it inspiration porn? Yes or no?
Yes.
Jacob says no, it's not.
I mean, he asked a girl to the prom. How is that inspirational? She's in a wheelchair. I just like that's great. That's awesome. I just yeah, a guy. I don't think. Yeah,
So it is inspiration porn.
Yes.
It is. It's inspiration porn. We all agree that that's an
maybe I misunderstood. Okay, yeah. Okay, I was like, yeah. That is not inspirational, is what I was trying to get
It's not inspirational. Okay, good.
Yeah, okay, I understand now.
You should have seen our faces. I saw Taniya's face like, what? Okay, next one. We see somebody in a wheelchair, and they just completed a 10K, and everyone's cheering for them. Is that inspiration porn, or is that just inspirational?
That one's at least harder because there's at least an achievement there, that you finished a 5 or a 10K.
So you think that's inspirational? That's not inspirational point. You think that's okay?
I was just talking through the problem. I was saying that there's at least an achievement there. My easy answer is as always, I'm not qualified for this. Sure, it can be inspirational. Sure.
Taniya, what is it, inspirational porn, or is it just inspirational?
That I think is just inspirational.
Very good. Yay. Let's keep going with this one. So now, do you think that seeing a disabled person out on a dinner date with a non-disabled person, is that inspirational porn, or is that just inspirational?
That's straight up inspiration porn.
Inspirational porn.
Yay! We move on. So therefore, we can all say that we are in agreement that just because we do what everyone else does, then that's just the way it is. It's just, you don't need to be thinking that's inspirational. Where do you draw the line from what's inspirational and what's inspirational porn? Who wants to go first on that one? I don't think Jacob wants to. Taniya, go ahead, tell us.
Okay. I have a love-hate relationship word with love-hate relationship with the word inspiration. I draw the line for me personally. If it's something that you would expect me to be able to do or feel my peers could do or should do, don't call me an inspiration for it. I am not inspirational because I have a college degree. I am not inspirational because I drive a car. I'm not inspirational because I burned a hamburger. I did that with a step stool, you know what I mean? If it's something that you wouldn't even think about, if my sister was like, hey, I drove my car to 7-Eleven, then I'm not inspirational for doing it either.
Jacob.
Ultimately, if it's actual inspiration, if something inspires you, then I really don't care where you get it. If it leads you to be a better person, then I could really care less where you get it from. But saying that, I do roll my eyes and get irritated, like, oh, Jacob, he's so great. He got out of bed this morning. Mm-hmm. What an inspiration. I haven't done nothing. I just got out of bed. Why does that make me an inspiration? So on a personal level, yes, I do roll my eyes that, Jacob's such an inspiration because, he went to the bathroom. Hooray, Jacob. But if something genuinely inspires you and leads you to be a better person, then where you get it is unimportant to me. As long as you're, that is a genuine feeling.
Interesting. Both of you, because I just finished doing a podcast with Tony Jacobson, and he also has OI. And
Love Tony. He's great. Sorry, continue. I was just saying, Tony's great.
Jacob's giving you a little plug.
And so he was, I asked him the same thing, the inspirational porn, and he said that, I said to him, I give the example, you see me getting out of the car, and people come up to me and go, you're so inspiring. And I go, I think that's inspirational porn. And so he says to me something interesting. He goes, you don't know what they went through. You don't know that maybe you getting out of that car might not be a big deal for you, but it's something that affects them. And if it does, then just so be it. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay. So, he helped me look at it from a different perspective. But then I said to him, well, I'm still going to agree that those prom videos of a disabled person getting asked to the prom, that's totally inspirational porn. I mean, I don't care what it does to you. I'm just, that it just bothers me to like no end, So would you agree with that, what I just said? Yes? Okay, we got a bunch of nodding. Okay, good. And so let me ask you a question. Wishbone Day is about awareness. And a couple of years ago, I thought, I don't want just awareness. I mean, when you see me, you're aware I have a disability. I want Wishbone Day to be about acceptance, which is kind of what you were talking about, Taniya, with inclusion and everything. A lot of disabilities we're green, we're purple, we're this color, we're that color. I just want acceptance. You are already aware of my disability, and if you want to know more, you can always Google it. But what are you willing to do to accept us? Does that make sense? So, yeah. Do you think that Wishbone Day, or even the other kind of disability days, they should be more about acceptance and not awareness? Or is that not a big deal for you?
That's something I never thought about, but thank you for saying that because it's a really good point. When people, you're right, when people see me or you or Jacob, they're aware that there's something there. And no, I think to promote acceptance and inclusion is actually a lot more important than awareness.
I agree. What about you, Jacob?
I think awareness on accessibility is important. I go places all the time where I don't think the accommodations are friendly enough for wheelchairs or people who have an accessible van. I think that is important. Awareness of people with of differing abilities in general is important. I don't know how much awareness is important for a very specific disability. If you're a wheelchair user and you have I don't know. I feel I'm going to get in trouble if I make an example, so I won't. So but two wheelchair users, they can use very similar accommodations in a public space. So that anyway, I think awareness for a specific disability that becomes really helpful when you're fundraising. So I think that I keep that in mind. That when I'm raising awareness for something, I'm just helping them possibly just raise money. So anyway, was that a good answer? I don't know. Was that good?
Well, I think you did answer it, which brings me, what can we do on Wishbone Day to build acceptance? Awareness, I'm over it. I'm wearing my yellow, and there you go. Not only is the wheelchair making you look at me, but now I'm wearing this yellow outfit, like Big Bird's cousin. So if you're not aware of me now, I don't know what to do for you, So what can we do about acceptance? What do you think we should do on Wishbone Day to bring more acceptance? Silence. Oh my goodness.
I wasn't prepared for this question. It's a good question.
Yeah, what can we do to help with acceptance? I think the easiest solution is start when you're young. I think the easiest solution is to start with the young, of making them believe that just like somebody of a different skin color is no different than somebody of a different physical ability or mental ability is no different. And I think that is the easiest way to make changes. I don't know if you've ever tried to convince someone over 65 of anything, but it's not really doable. So I think the easiest is to start with the young. I think telling them the example I just made, that skin color, physical ability, mental ability, that doesn't mean you don't have value. That doesn't mean that you're not loved. I think back to my high school, there was a kid who had rather severe Down syndrome. And if anybody messed with him, they'd get hell from the entire school, not just, a teacher. They didn't need to do anything. So, it's one of those things where I think acceptance from the youth is probably the easiest angle.
What do you think, Taniya? What can we do?
If you're talking one day impact, because I agree with Jacob, that's a lot of where I focus on when I'm talking to younger people. But if you want one day impact or something that we might be able to do on that specific day, maybe just meet people, whether it's the person at Target. Introduce yourself. You don't have to go into your whole backstory, but you know what? You've just taught somebody that, hey, you're shopping and yeah, you're a real person. And I see a lot of images on television. You get just away from the inspiration porn, but a lot of these reality shows that have featured like little people, and I'm not talking about the decent ones that appear on TLC, I'm talking about the other ones. And my opinion of those have always been, is if you live in Long Island, New York, and that's your only exposure to what you think a little person is or a person with a disability is, then I've got a long way to go before you really understand. And I think we really could do that on, what is it, I think May 6th or May 5th? It's May 6th. Good. Actually just introduce yourself to somebody. Let them see that, hey, you actually can communicate. Wow, you speak. You have a voice. You have a vocabulary. You're a real human being. You're not just a character.
I like that. You guys give a lot of good ideas. Hopefully the OIF is listening and is jotting all this down, because it would be really impactful. I was thinking that on May 6th, Wishbone Day, that they can also say things like the proper way to address someone with a disability would be blah, blah, blah. Actually give practical suggestions, If you really want to accept us, then ask us, how to talk to us. First of all, don't lean on my wheelchair, or, don't expect anything. Don't pat me on the head unless you want me to bite you on the knee. That kind of stuff,
I don't need you to kneel down to where we're at eye level. I'm good. You don't need to, kneel down like I'm 5, like you're looking me straight in the eye, tell me something, it's going to change my life. I'm good. You can stand.
Yes, and there's also practical stuff for OI people would be, if on Wishbone Day, talk to us about how we need to have tables that are our length. Businesses need to have counters. Because there aren't that many giants among the OI community.
Mhm.
So I don't know, but how tall are you, Taniya? Do you know?
3'11".
3'11". My God, you're a giant. You're
I
a
mean, I'm
giant.
4'2", but I don't stand, so that's.
Well, when I did stand, I know that I'm up to my wheelchair handlebar, and then I put the handlebar next to the doorknob, so I'm right underneath the doorknob. So people say, "Hey, how tall are you?" The doorknob. That's my height. Get a measuring stick and figure it out. So I think that
Sort of.
for Wishbone Day, we need to have practical things like that. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a great idea. And here's another thing I noticed, side note, speaking of practical things. Why are the counters in doctors' offices 9 feet off the ground? Why? I go to the doctor and I literally have to jump up and down so that people can see the tips of my fingers to realize that they should lean over and say, "Who's down there?" I go to my orthopedist and there are people in wheelchairs that'll get online behind me and nobody sees any of it. There's not even a little bell. I don't understand that. Practically, that's ridiculous. That I wish
Totally.
I could find a way to change.
The examining tables. I mean, if you
Yes.
are my doctor and you accept me as your patient, you might want to accept the fact that I can't fly up to that table that you have all the way up there. Which, by the way, I'm wondering, when people visit a doctor, they're not exactly healthy. So how do they climb on those high tables? So acceptance might be that you're going to have to spend some technology to include us in situations. That would be businesses, doctors, restaurants, movie theaters, concerts. That to me is a true Wishbone Day acceptance day. When we find people actually saying, "Hi, we know that you have OI, so we made sure to put you somewhere where nobody's going to bump you and you're going to break." Or we're going to make sure that the bathrooms are not only accessible, but that the toilet seat is not broken. Does that ever happen? Am I the only person? I go to the bathroom and I'm like, that toilet seat is going to fly off.
Yes, and the other thing, you can probably relate to this as a woman. You go into the handicap stall in the bathroom. Why is the hook for your purse at the very top of the door? Why is it up there? Because not just me being smaller, but a person, or when I was in a wheelchair, why is it a handicap stall? You would imagine a person in a wheelchair can't reach that high up.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you said that. Jacob is like, TMI, women, TMI. But
Oh, no. Go on. This is great. This is great. I'm learning, excuse me, just like everybody else. Go on.
I think that they expect a caretaker to be with us. And I think that the caretaker has a purse, but we don't, because, we're disabled. And so therefore, the caretaker needs to put her purse up there, not us. So, they fulfill their ADA requirement, but they really didn't accept us in their mind. Because if they accepted us like true equals, then they wouldn't put things so out of reach, like the soap. I carry soap in my purse.
Yeah.
Because trying to grab that soap all the way over there, and I'm thinking, really? How am I supposed to touch that soap? Or if you do reach it, it's so hard to press that I'm about to break my fingers just trying to press it. Did that happen to you?
I actually just carry around my own hand sanitizer. I don't actually bother with, the sink or whatever in a bathroom. They're always too high up. They're always really far away. Hand sanitizer.
Jacob, I think women all over the world are very happy to know that a man like you has something to wash his hands with.
So, yes, but here's the deal. That only started because my grandmother, I would go around with her, and she would carry around hand sanitizer in her purse, and she would hand it to me when I was 5 years old. So that's actually how that got started. But yes, men should wash their hands. Yes, men are gross.
Well, you see, that was going to be my next question, and I know we're closing off, but what do you do, or what do you have that you have to have it because of your disability? Like he just had to I don't have just hand sanitizer. Sometimes I gotta carry other little things in case something falls. I gotta be ready. I don't have a reacher. I don't carry a reacher everywhere I go. But I've had to become very creative. Sometimes I've got to take this out to grab my purse if it falls. I've had to become like little MacGyver. I got to come up with little things to survive when I'm by myself. What do you guys have? This is a tough question.
So while you're thinking, I can go. What I carry around when I'm out with me, not a whole lot. I carry things to clean my glasses, of course, and hand sanitizer, like you saw. I have a little. It's technically called a messenger bag that I have looped on the side of my chair, but I hear people call it a purse, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Well, yeah, because it basically is. I carry pins and things. I do have a grabber that I use around the house so I can pick things up. I used to have a grabber that would fold up, which was really neat. I could stuff it in my backpack if I needed to grab something. But those are garbage, so they always fall apart. So I gave up on that dream. There's not a whole lot other than the wheelchair. Like the wheelchair itself, and making sure that it's maintained. I recently got new parts for it last week, which was really nice. So happy. And then, my van has a lot of stuff that I carry around in it, but not anything in particular. I tend to do pretty well.
Seems like a guy thing. I don't know. A lot of tools.
Men are the worst. Men suck. So.
Yeah, I'm feeling it.
I mean, we do. Like, I'm perfectly on board. So.
What do you have, Taniya?
I don't carry around a whole lot. I do have a grabber, which I use strictly in my house.
Me too.
During the winter, except this year my dad broke it. He's got to buy me another one. Here in New York, we get massive amounts of snow, and I do have a car, and I do drive, so I'm responsible for cleaning it off. But your standard snow remover thingy-majigga isn't long enough for me. I don't have the reach. I can only get, like, the corner of the windshield. So what I found, or a friend of mine found from years ago, was one for an SUV. So it actually extended so that if you owned an SUV, you could clean off the top of your SUV. So I had that, which I kept in my trunk, but like I said, my dad broke it this year, so he's got to get me another one. Other than that, though, I'm pretty innovative at finding things in your establishment that I need to, like, make something work. If I think your door for your bathroom, let's say, is too heavy and there's nobody around, or I don't want to ask anybody, I'll use the chair at the table next to the bathroom and kind of shove the door open, or kind of prop it open so it's easier for me to get out. And things like that. Or at stores, I will pick up one item and throw it at another item, or borrow your umbrella so I can knock down the bread. The store's umbrella, so I can knock down the loaf of bread that I might need, and then put it back.
Do you find it that they always put the stuff you want out of your reach?
Why?
Like, I have that problem where it's always the one thing that I want is on the top shelf. And I always feel like it's, they're trying to keep me from getting too fat or something. I always feel like that's
funny because I say the same thing. I'm like, oh, they did not want me to have those cookies.
You guys are funny. I wanted to ask you about that as well. You know that my family, like I said, I was from New York, but then my mom, she had us move to Miami when I was 11 because she thought that I would have a better lifestyle. Like you said, the snow. Taniya, your camera. There you are.
Yeah.
There you are. Back. Are you dying on me? Don't die yet.
Oh, no.
She said that the winters, the snow, it would affect my social life, my upbringing, and I've heard a lot of other OI people say the same thing, that the winters, they get very depressed up north. They get the cabin fever, they get the winter blues. How have both of you, because I think both of you deal with winters, harsh winters, am I right? I deal with brutal summers. I just want to let you know that I too suffer, okay? These summers are brutal. The sweat, the sun.
It's so hard. Yeah. All that sunshine and beaches. Yeah, like I don't know how you deal with all that. Poor Nathasha. God, like I feel so sorry. Prayers for Nathasha. Hashtag prayers for Nathasha. Mm-hmm. Thoughts and prayers.
Well, now that you know my suffering, tell us about your suffering.
Winters in New York are awful. I can't remember the last time we had a mild winter. What was it, 2 years ago? We got, in one night, 3 feet of snow. I'm 3'11". I couldn't even leave my house. And I live in an apartment where I rely on my landlords, although they're great, with making sure that all of my snow is removed. And what terrifies me the most is not being able to have it cleaned off enough to get out of my door if I needed to. Because when there's 2 or 3 feet of snow, I don't have the luxury of just stepping over or trekking through it where somebody might be up to their knees. So I'm like, if there's an emergency, what am I going to swim through this mountain of snow? They're great at keeping it clean, but that's something that always concerns me. I'm so glad that the winter is pretty much done. That and then the aches and the pains during the winter, those are brutal. And then the risk of slipping, because not everywhere, I should say, does an adequate job when it comes to putting down their salt and making sure that their areas are clean, but you can't be snowed in the entire winter, so you are kind of subject to other people's property or carelessness and things like that.
Have you thought about getting a wheelchair and just for the winters?
I had one. Here's the funny story about the wheelchair. I had one, and then I was in a car accident, and it got broken. It was in the trunk, because I did take it for, like, emergencies. In the event something happened to me, at least it would be in the trunk of my car. If I slipped a broken ankle and needed a friend to take me to the hospital, I mean, let's face it, I don't need the ambulance for everything. I would have it, but it got broken and in the car accident, and the insurance wouldn't pay for another one.
Wow.
So I don't have the $3,500 that I think they wanted at the time to cover it or to buy one.
That's crazy. So Are you going to end up getting one, or do you think?
It's something that I'll revisit. But, yeah, you're right. Probably for the winters it would be a good idea. I just need to have the cash to get it, or find a way to finagle my orthopedist into somehow making insurance pay for it.
Good idea. You're right. I hope you get it, because it might actually help you a little more freedom and, I don't know, not so much struggle. We already struggle enough. There's certain areas that you might need to have a little reprieve, and maybe the wheelchair might give you that in the winter.
Yeah.
Have you talked to your orthopedist about it? Because theoretically, he could at least try writing a prescription for a wheelchair. And your insurance would at least have to listen to it.
He wrote this script, but they, for whatever reason, I don't remember the exact reason. I think it's because the one I had was less than 5 years old. So there's this stipulation that they'll only pay for one every certain amount of years. I don't know if it's 5 years or 7 years. I forgot. But he did give me a script to get a new one.
It was your old wheelchair ruined, so they couldn't just repair it?
Yeah, no, it was mangled. The car was totaled. Luckily,
okay, yeah.
But yeah, no, it was mangled. The car can hold up, so the wheelchair definitely didn't hold up.
Okay.
Jacob, tell us about your cruel winters. Your struggle.
Winters haven't been too bad lately. I'm from Kentucky, and usually we either get, very little snow or just all the snow in the world. We don't know how to deal with it. Usually, power wheelchairs aren't four-wheel drive, or at least mine isn't. So if it snows very much, I'm snowed in. I can't go anywhere. Just because there's a little bit of snow on the ground, my wheelchair can't get traction to go anywhere. So typically, I remember one time when I was in college, I'd gotten word that it was going to come a really big snow. I went to the grocery store and bought just tons and tons of stuff because I didn't leave my apartment for a week. It snowed so bad. So, and eventually, if I really have to go, I could call somebody, hey, would you, shovel the space between my car and the door, and then, I can, like if I had to, I could make it work, but it's one of those things where, the wheelchair just doesn't go in snow. It just doesn't.
Are you guys thinking about coming
So,
to Florida or a sunny location for a better
no, I'm good.
lifestyle, or not really? You're willing to struggle.
No, my entire family's here, so I wouldn't leave. I wouldn't leave them. It's not many of us anymore. It's just me, my sister, my dad, and my 2 nieces. I couldn't leave them, and I wouldn't be able to get them to leave.
What about you, Jacob? Winter is coming.
I wouldn't go because you know how you read those articles about like Florida man does blank. You know, you know. I think I'm good. You know, it's never like Utah man does blank. It's always Florida man. You know, like a guy in Florida, ran into a grocery store naked. Like I don't need that in my life. I have enough. Like I'm good. So, but I appreciate it.
Well,
I'd come visit, Natasha.
I'm sorry, say it again?
Oh, I said I'd come visit.
Come visit. Welcome to Miami, Come, you will feel so much happier. Everyone that comes to Miami, or even South Florida, or even Florida, anywhere where there's sunshine, Arizona, New Mexico, it's that
But
freedom.
yeah, but in Florida you get quite a bit of flooding in some cities. Is that something that you worry about?
No.
Okay. Well then, that was a
I'd rather be
useless
in
question.
Florida with a hurricane than California with an earthquake. The idea of the earth just swallowing me up without even a little bit of notice, just not my style, A hurricane, you have time to prepare. You can decide whether you want to leave or you want to stay. Right?
In California, you pay $10 million for a utility closet, and then that goes under without
Okay.
warning. So that's,
Or a wildfire grabs you and you're crispy.
Yeah.
So that happens too. Yep.
that's why we need Tony Jacobson here. He could, tell us why California is great.
Well, I'm going to end it here on a good note about where to live in the future. And I look forward to having both of you again in the future for another episode because I get to talk more and more one-on-one. And I would love to see an update about Taniya with your surgery and your speaking, your website, your, job opportunities out there. And I'm pretty sure it's going to happen for you just like you want it because your attitude is so positive and you're actually willing to just go out there and face it. That's pretty cool. I like it. So
Thank you.
congratulations and thank you for being on the show. And Mr. Jacob, I just want to say a special thank you to Jacob because, he put me on the podcast and I was like, wow, this guy just did such a great job. He's so nice. And then I was talking to Tony Jacobson about it and we were talking about how disabled people, they need to help each other out. They shouldn't be crabs in a bucket, And actually, I got that from Matt Roloff several years ago when I met him and I gave him the Most Audacious Person Award. And I asked him for advice, and he said, disabled people need to be less like crabs in a bucket. We shouldn't be pulling each other down. We should be helping each other up. So when you have your site, Taniya, let me know. I would love to promote it, let everyone know about it. And Jacob was so amazing when I said, Jacob, I'm going to do a podcast for Audacity. And he's like, fantastic. If you need help, let me know. And I was like, wow, that is so nice. Where other people would be like, why are you doing a podcast? I have a podcast.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, excuse me, you've got a restaurant? I guess I can't have a restaurant, So thank you, Jacob. That was really awesome. And I hope that you heal better and that you make use of your degree. And I'm going to continue to give you more people to interview because our styles are so different and the whole world needs to hear what each of us are thinking and asking other people. So thank you very much. And thank you for your support as well. When you guys see this video, hopefully it will be on May 6th. And we'll all be wearing our yellow. And people will see us. Woohoo! And hopefully we're going to make the world a little stronger, even though our bones are a little fragile. Right?
Sounds good.
Sounds great.
And that's the way it is. That should be like your sign off. We're trying to make the world a little stronger, although we're a little fragile.
Exactly.
May 6, 2019. That's the way it is.
You see that? And that's why you need to listen to his podcast. He's amazing.
No, I won't. What's the name of it?
It's called Ability, so you can find it wherever you listen to podcasts or abilitypodcast.com.
So thank you very much, everyone, and join us next time to hear more about audacious people with disabilities around the world.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.